Hi VC, I've got a stinking cold, so you're going to have to put up with a husky sounding me. Today I'm going to do a video on God rock for heathens. Don't turn off, this will be alright, I promise you. I'm turned off by overtly religious music. I like a bit of Gregorian chanting, don't get me wrong, but yeah, happy clappy Christian songs do not do it for me. I'm a spiritual person, I just don't believe you need to be part of a club to believe something. And you certainly don't need to have someone preaching to you on a record. But there are some really good records out there by rock bands who, despite being in awe of the big fella who may or may not be up there, make some decent music. So if, like me, you're a heathen or an agnostic, stick around. You might see something that floats your boat. I don't think it's going to convert you, but that's not the point. It's just to show you not to pass up some of this stuff if you see it. So yeah, let's get on to the music. I mean, I suppose my introduction to God rock was this band in the 80s. They kind of snagged onto the hair metal scene and tried to steer us away from the evils of Motley Crue and Wasp and bands like that. And it's Stryper. And this is their To Hell with the Devil album. And yeah, look at these bodybuilders, these lovely shampoo model bodybuilders casting the nasty rocker down to hell. And they did it with an image which was nice and safe. I think they were kind of the anti-Wasp. They're more like the kind of cuddly bumblebees of rock. And I'm not showing this as a recommendation because a lot of this is execrable. It's utter crap. I mean, the track, honestly, is one of the weakest, wettest songs I've ever heard in my life. It's truly abysmal. You should check it out just to hear how bad it is. I mean, it's as far removed from rock as it's possible to get. But then there's some really good riffs on here. The track, I think it's Free, starts off really well. Really nice riff. And there are enough moments on this album to make me want to keep it. But I'm not recommending it. I mean, not unless you want to get a copy just to play to your friends to torture them, or you're certainly not going to convert anybody, let's put it that way. Stryper, that's where it all started. Although it didn't, there were Christian musicians long before that. In fact, I'm going to show you some of them today, but that's where it started for me. Okay, so now we've got Stryper out of the way, we can get on with the good stuff. And start with an album from 1971 by a band called Help, and the album's called Second Coming. And this is a 2013 reissue on the Sound Vision label. Sounds okay, I'd love an original, but I might do this for the time being. And this is a great album. It's a really good party hard rock album. Quality vocals, choppy, heavy guitar, plenty of wah-wah on here, busy bass, clattering drums, bit of slide guitar here and there to give us like southern rock feel as well. Absolutely love this. The highlights are probably fourth track on the first side, which is called Hold On Child. Got a really nice groove. It reminds me a bit of the band Birth Control, krautrock band, and their album Hoodoo Guru. Is it called Hoodoo Guru? I think so. It's got kind of a southern rock vocal, sort of acidic wah-wah guitar solo on there, and it's relentless. Really good track. And then first track on the second side is called Dear Lord, which is the first track on here with really overtly Christian lyrics, I suppose, at least ones I'd picked up on. But don't let that put you off. It's got a huge fuzz guitar riff, real Grand Funk Railroad feel to it. In fact, the whole album's got that kind of Grand Funk Railroad, crossed a bit of Steppenwolf kind of a feel to it. the one thing I do notice listening to this album is the drummer doesn't have too much in the way of variation of fills in his repertoire. It tends to be the same fill going around the kit every time, but it doesn't detract from it too much. It's kind of slightly naive, but you know, it's good stuff anyway. There's some really nice harmony backing vocals on the track Dear Lord, where they sing Help Me Lord, and sounds beautiful. Overall, it's just a heavy guitar freak out jam with a bass solo in it. And there's a real party hard rock track as well called Oh My, which kind of sounds like a cross between early Kiss crossed with Bartman Turner Overdrive. So Christian references are subtle, but the band isn't. Really great hard rock album, worth checking out, definitely. And then I guess in a sort of similar vein is a band called the Resurrection Band, and I've chosen to show Awaiting Your Reply because it's the first album I got by them. Probably my favourite. I've got 3 or 4 of their albums, I think. This is good stuff. And it starts off with a track called Waves, which is really heavy, strutting, Led Zepp style riffage. Really great. There's dual male-female vocals on it, which sound really good. There's a shredding harmonica solo of all things. And yes, there are some really preachy Christian lyrics, but I can live with that because the music's so good. What I can't stand is when the music's bad and the lyrics are trying to ram Christianity down my throat. That doesn't do this. It's the music comes first, and it's really good. The title track has a really bluesy, Hendrixy solo on it, which is to be recommended. And what else is good on here? Broken Promises, 3rd track on the first side, has a piano synth intro, and it sounds almost like a pump rock take on a Tesla power ballad, but with God as the jilted lover, which is a bit of a strange twist. Some good squelchy analog synths on there as well, so that's to be recommended. I mean, overall, the album has a bit of a Zepp, Bad Company, Montrose feel to it. There are softer moments, but on the whole, they're the influences, I'd say. There's even moments of sort of pastoral Led Zeppelin, Heart type rock. For example, on Irish Garden, which has flute and some plaintive guitar, sort of John Bonham-esque drums, and a really zippy synth solo in it. The male and female vocalists kind of share the vocals. Sometimes they're sort of duetting, if you like. But for me, it's most successful when the male vocalist takes the lead and the female vocalist just provides backing vocals, because he is technically a more proficient vocalist. So you tend to listen to the delivery more than the lyrics, whereas when she's singing, she delivers these real preachy lyrics, and they're in tune, but without any personality really. So, yeah, that's the only downside, I'd say. But it's a minor one, because this is a really great album. You should check it out. Now for something a bit different. But this is a great example of a record that is really Christian, but the musicianship, the delivery, the performance is so good that it just doesn't matter. It's just incidental, washes over you. And this album came out in 1971, and it's by California Earthquake, and it's called Reformation. Probably not going to be able to see an awful lot of that with the glare. It's in the shrink can. It's got a PVC sleeve on, so no, you're not going to be able to see that. But there's a bit of a musical pedigree on this one. It's got Bill Connors on guitar, who played with Return to Forever. And it's got a couple of guys on drums, John Guerin and Jim Gordon, who played in the Wrecking Crew. So you know this is going to be top draw musicianship from the start. And what it is soulful, funky, progressive horn rock with stellar musicianship. A lot of people hate horn rock. I don't have a problem with it. There's good and there's bad, just like in every musical genre. But this is particularly good. And it starts off with a track called In the Beginning, which has a real spacious, sort of atmospheric feel. Sorts of meandering horns, cymbal tickles, drifting bass lines, all building to a crescendo. Great stuff. And that's followed by a track called Let There Be Light. And a lot of the track titles here have a real Christian feel to them. There's no getting away from it. And that has a real portentous horn riff. There's piano and flute on there. It's got a real sort of soundtracky kind of feel to it, almost a blaxploitation vibe. There's muted trumpet and some church bells on there, but it's funky horn rock with fuzz guitar, plenty of reverb to get that sort of psyche feel, and the vocalist is a dead ringer for Tom Jones. So if you imagine Tom Jones fronting a blaxploitation Christian funky psych rock band, that's what you got. There are some clangers. There's a track called Put Your Hand, which I've heard other people doing. I don't know whether it's a traditional sort of Christian gospel-y type song, but it just sounds like something that could have been straight out of Jesus Christ Superstar or something like that. It's fine. It's okay. But, you know, like I say, some of the track titles, there's My God and I and The Bible Salesman. So, yeah, they're not hiding their Christian credentials here, but the musicianship, that's everything here. I think it might be the last track on here. Yeah, last track, Reformation, where the vocal is almost rapped. Funky as all hell. Think of, if you know the track Gangster of Love by Steve Miller Band, which is a really short but funky track. It's got that kind of feel to it. Lots of great organ guitar interplay. I mean, what a groove. Really good album. Well worth checking out if you come across it. Yes, it's horn rock. Yes, it's Christian. That's 2 reasons to hate it, but it's actually a really good album. I've got a band here out of Sweden called Jerusalem. And that cover would really lead you to believe this is a full-on heavy metal assault. It's not. It's much more diverse and inevitably less focused than that. There's some heavy rock on here. There's new wave, there's prog, there's blues rock, and there's acoustic balladry. Like I say, they're from Sweden. This came out in 1982, and it's all over the place. The first track is called Constantly Changing, funnily enough, which kind of sums them up. And that sounds a bit like Bartman Turner Overdrive's Ain't Seen Nothing Yet riff, with a new wave lead vocal like J.L. Gar's band had on Centerfold. It's that kind of a feel. Second track, Warrior, is a moody, atmospheric, echoey piece. Great guitar on it, shimmering organ. It's proggy. And the lyrics are quite entertaining because they're basically run along the line of "fuck off, Satan, Jesus can kick your ass," which is quite entertaining. There's some fairly nauseating lyrics which are in a song that sounds rather like The Cars, so it's a bit odd having these kind of biblical style lyrics in a new wavy power pop song. But this is a decent album. I mean, there's enough good stuff on it to recommend it. The track Man of the World has some really nice heavy guitar, warbling organ, big splashy hi-hats. It sounds, if anything, like a heavy version of the sort of fat, bluesy Whitesnake, but with new wavy, hard rock vocals. And then there's a track on side 2 called Sodom, which is 12 minutes long, loads of pompy synths and a wind machine, and it reminds me a lot of Eyes of the World by Rainbow. The melody on the chorus, the vocal melody, steals from Wishing Well by Free pretty blatantly. I don't know whether plagiarism is a sin, but if it is, this lot are going to hell. The track is epic and overwrought, but that's a good thing. It's worth checking out. And they've done a few albums, I believe. This is the only one I've got, but yeah, I can recommend that. And here's one that's generally of interest to site collectors. And in part that's because it's not really very preachy. You'd barely know it's a Christian album unless you read reviews telling you it is. It came out in 1969. It's by Mind Garage. It's a really, really decent album, this one. I remember getting this in the religious music section of a record store, and I obviously didn't know what the hell it was, and I priced it accordingly, which suited me. So it starts off with a track called Ruby Rose, which is completely progadelic, Reminds me of Procol Harum, sort of that conquistador sort of sound. There's Marshall drums on it, swirling organ, a sort of Gary Brooker type vocal, really decent opener. But then you have a highlight, second track, it's called Life, which is garagey psych with plenty of acid guitar, definite Steppenwolf vibe, Hammond organ on it, really nice. Back Down Home, a sort of hokey rural country psych, with the lyric which goes along the lines of, hey sinner, you got to reacquaint yourself with God. And that's interesting. There Was a Time, final track on the first side, really nice wah-wah guitar on that, really nice groove, some good organ, an acid guitar solo, can't go wrong. Plenty of strutting organ on this, some sort of slightly R&B type psych moments, particularly on the track Dr. John, which sort of seems to switch between a sort of R&B psychedelic feel and a jazzy swing. There's a bit of a drum solo on that, saxophone, really nice listen. And the final track, What's Behind Those Eyes, which is driven along by percussion. There's lots of great percussion on this album actually. Mixture of clean and fuzzy guitar, communal kind of gang vocals in a celebratory style, which reminds me a fair bit of the Polyphonic Spree. So yeah, this is a really, really good listen. And like I say, not overtly Christian, so possibly one you might want to check out. Now, perhaps you're familiar with this one. You'll certainly be familiar with the guy who made the album. Is my voice sounding better? I think it's easing up a bit. Kerry Livgren and his Seeds of Change album. Obviously, Kerry Livgren was a member of Kansas, and they parted ways, I think, because his lyrical input was just getting too Christian for the rest of the band, who I don't think themselves were particularly averse to the spot of Bible bashing, but I think you're just going too far in that direction. So they put out this album, which, to be honest, there's Christian themes on it, but again, it's one you can listen to without feeling like you've been preached to. Features a ton of guest vocalists and guest musicians. So you've got Jeff Pollard from LaRue, who actually sings on the first track, Just One Way, and that really sounds like it could be an outtake from the Up album, which is a good thing. Loads of synths on that. And you also got Barrymore Barlow killing it on the drums. Then, what most people come to this album for, second track, Mask of the Great Deceiver, and you have the legend that is Ronnie James Dio on vocals. And that starts with an epic synth intro. And the track itself is like a cross between Kansas and Asia, but it's given a real epic feel by Ronnie Dio's vocals. It sounds like a heavier track than it is because his vocal delivery is just so immense. There's some fantastic twin kick drumming from Barrymore Barlow on there, ex of Jethro Tull, of course. And it's a real pompy synth track. I say it sounds heavier than it is because it's got that Ronnie Dio vocal on it, and it is a brilliant track. Steve Walsh sings on a track on here, so Kerry Livgren gets members of Kansas to come back and play on his solo album. Phil Ehart is on drums on a track or two as well. Other highlights, Whiskey Seed, really good song. It reminds me a lot of Rival Sons, in fact. The chorus is probably a bit more commercial, sort of bluesy AOR style, but the verses definitely had that Rival Sons sort of feel to them. And then at the start of side 2, you get another track with Ronnie Dio on vocals, To Live for the King. It's a slow, portentous Dio vocal, and the whole thing sounds like a long-lost Rainbow track, sort of similar to Sensitive to Light or something like that. Really great track. And you get, was it the third track on side 2, Ground Zero? David Pack from Ambrosia sings on that one. And Robbie Steinhardt, violinist from Kansas, plays on that as well. And that's a really nice, proggy, epic, symphonic track. So if you don't know this, you really need to check it out. Great album. Christian or not, it's one you have to have in your collection. And then if you can't decide who to believe in or what to believe, this might be the band for you, because I don't think they have a clue either. They just kind of chuck every religious or spiritual fad or deity or whatever into the blender and come up with their self-titled album, Quintessence. And first you've got to check out that sleeve. I mean, it's lovely, kind of beautiful imagery on there, and trippy visuals on the back. Came on the Island label, you know, the palm tree label, pink rim. And this is real East meets West psych. It's a jam band with sitar, flute, acid guitar and religious chanting. And it is quite brilliant. Like I say, they can't settle on one deity or religious affiliation. You got Jesus on here, you got Buddha, Moses, Shiva, Hare Krishna gets a name check. It's all over the place. But that was the hippy dippy 60s for you, or early 70s. I forget what year this came out. Nope, can't see it on there. But yeah, this was like 69, 70, something like that, I think. A guy called Raja Ram plays flute on here, and it's magical. Sounds amazing. The drums are really inventive. The lead vocals by a guy who calls himself Shiva. I don't think he's the god. I think he's just a musician. They're not bad. Not sensational, but they're good enough for serviceable. The guitar playing by a guy called Alan Mostert absolutely slays. He knocks it out of the park, especially on a track called St. Pancras Live, which is just a wailing guitar heavy jam. Love it. This is hippy dippy. It's all over the place, but it has substance and it demands repeated plays. It's really good stuff. I mean, you got to have your tongue in your cheek because they do take it quite seriously, but that was the nature of the beast back then. I think they're all part of the kind of Ladbroke Grove scene with the Pink Fairies and Hawkwind and that lot. So I think there's some substances being done. A kind of a pick and mix, East meets West philosophy going on. So it just reflects the times. But great stuff. That's your lot for now. I've got a load more of this God Rock stuff, but I'm going to inflict it on you. You don't need another themed video like this, but some of it might crop up in other videos. Good luck to you if you're of the religious bent. Doesn't do it for me. But if I'm going to listen to God Rock, it's got to be well played God Rock, and all this stuff I've shown you is decent. So you could do worse than check it out. Okay, comment below, and I'll see you soon. And hopefully my cold will be totally gone by then. It was bound to be because I only post a video about every 3 weeks.